Gold mining may look very careful and serious, but even the most skilled miners make mistakes from time to time. Miners have had their fair share of ups and downs, from small mistakes that are easy to miss to big ones that cost a lot of money and make team members angry. Come with us as we look into the most stupid parts of the gold rush, putting the million-dollar dredge down. The dredge owned by Tony Beets sank for the second time in 6 weeks. He was told to go down and check on the dredge, even though it was his day off. What Tony saw when he got there could have been better. That machine held a lot of money, and it was just sitting there. It wasn't a happy moment. It looked like the team knew how bad things were, but they didn't know where to begin. The issue had to be fixed, but it was extra hard because the machine had to work by the time Tony got back. They were working on the pontoons to get rid of the water and get the dredge to float again. They thought something was broken. The pontoons quickly filled with water. Knowing how bad things were getting, one of the team members just turned around and signed, saying that Tony and Kevin would not be happy with this. When they tried to fix things quickly, there was too much water in the pontoons, so they just tried to lighten the load to get rid of the weight. They were sure that the boss would not be happy with them because the company loses about $1,000 an hour when the digger is not working. In the end, that's a lot of cash. They set up 6 pumps to drain the water to fix the problem with the pump that was sinking, but they knew they were losing. They didn't even believe the pumps could do the job. Mike really helped them out by getting a strong pump that could move 3,000 liters of water per minute. After fixing the pump, they left it to do its job. They remembered that $1,000 went by every hour. They had been pumping for water for 12 hours and spent $12,000 on it. They finally pumped the water out of the pontoons. They needed to figure out why the digger sank in the first place. When Roger Redball looked at the dredge and saw that the doors were open, it was a big surprise. The team had been working on their own problems and trying to get through the cut. They realized that this wasn't a natural or technical failure, but rather an error made by a person. Because the doors were open, sand and water could get into the pontoons and cause the dredge to sink. The whole thing was their fault. When Tony and Kevin got back from the sale, they did what they were supposed to do and asked what happened. The mine boss still wanted to know why the doors were left open, even after he knew what had happened. It turned out that the night shift team was to blame. They weren't looking at the digger. Now that the pontoons were fixed, Tony didn't want to point the finger at anyone. He just wanted to turn the dredge around and use it again. Again, the groundwater and water from the holding pond made the dredge float. They were getting ready for the next step. She and her team showed that they were ready, and they asked Mike right away how to move the dredge. Kevin told them to work quickly so Jason wouldn't be able to start digging in the new area. The dredge was going to be turned 90 degrees, which would make the tailings line swing over the road. Careful steps were needed for this. They looked and saw that the back end was pretty close to the shore. With a very important moment coming up, the team knew they had to make some tricky moves to get the dredge through a tough spot. They were hoping that they would be able to make the turn. Even though there might be some problems, they were happy and glad when the dredge was finally in the right place because everything went as planned. When the turn went well, the team took a look at what had happened and was happy with how things turned out. Now that the dredge was ready to start getting gold again, they were excited about the chance to get some prizes. The bucket's noise showed that things were going well, and everyone on the team was feeling good and hopeful about what they were doing. The night shift crew did something really stupid that almost damaged Tony's dredge. But what a new driver did to a truck was even worse. The whole truck was almost destroyed, almost making an engine burst. After 11 weeks of digging, Tony had brought in more than 1,000 ounces of gold, but he wasn't completely happy. There had to be more made. In 2 of his cuts, the 8-acre blue cut and the 9-acre cold cut, he was trying to catch Paradise Hill's sought-after white Chanel pay run. But the weather had been bad for him for the past 6 weeks. He was back in the cold cut, where there was still a lot of money to be made. To make up for the time he lost, Tony planned to sluice day and night for the first time this season to double his output. 3 new drivers were brought in to help the team because there was a lot of work to be done. The 3 guys were way too excited about the season. They thought it was great to be over there trying to work off the ladder and hoping to work in the yard and see some real good. It was better than seeing them with fancy jewelry on. They had to show Tony they had the right skills before they could work the night job. The boss had a lot of faith in them. He told them that if they were smart and wanted to learn, they could learn anything about welding or motors. They could find a way through life if they knew which way to go. The rookies were to be trained by Megan Gondet, who had worked for Parker before going back to work for Tony the previous year. Thomas was one of the newbies, and she told him not to do anything crazy, but to focus on being more productive. But Thomas had done a really stupid thing. It was back at the yard that lead mechanic Kevin Beat noticed something wasn't right. He was working on the trucks that were needed for the Paradise Hills Blitz. Where was the fourth truck? It turned out that Thomas was in charge. The trouble was that truck number 4 was broken, too hot, and couldn't be used. Kevin marked cars that needed repairs before they could be used with lockout tags. What a stupid thing Thomas did. He didn't care about the tag, and it wasn't even signed. Thomas made a big mistake for a first-timer. It was a big deal to take a truck with a lockout tag on it. Thomas was putting the engine at risk, and Tony now knew about it. Thomas had a good chance of getting sent off, but it didn't happen. He was told by his boss to get back in a truck. He gave the new driver another chance, but this time in a truck that was in good shape and had been signed out. The newbies were full again. More trucks were better. We saw Tony having trouble with water and his dredge, but he wasn't the only one who had trouble with water because of a mistake. Parker has his fair share of water issues. In his case, he almost lost all of his wolf cut pay, a mining site that is now underwater. Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre wolf cut on the far side of his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The group was trying to get to pay dirt 30 feet below, but they had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material. 4 more feet would bring them to the water, and then it would be 30 feet to the rocks. But it looked like it was cooler than it really was. It would be very hard for them because they were working next to a pond. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Baudry was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out, but it looked like the cut was pretty wet. They called their boss to stop things before they got worse. It turned out that the mud got worse as they opened up more places. They still hadn't cut out even a fifth of the hole. There is an old pond next to the wolf cut. There was only a small berm between them. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. Now, it let water from the pond seep through the berm and fill the cut. Soon there will be a lot of water in the area. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do. Parker's plan to stop the water was to dig a pond into the ground at the cut's deepest point and put in an 8-inch pump to clear it. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. You might be wondering what went wrong with the plan now. The plan as a whole was good and seemed to work, but how could you choose a pump to drain that much water without first making sure it works and fixing any problems it might have? The next day, everyone on the team went for a hike to check out their nice, dry wolf cut, but they were about to get a big shock. Where did their pump go? It looked like the pump was gone, and instead of a cutting that was completely dry, they found a lake. The pump system had broken down, filling the cut and putting the pump 4 feet below the water level. $500,000 were about to slip through their hands. The pump was so deep that they couldn't even walk up to it. Tyson had to pull a small kayak out with a chain in the excavator to get the pump to dry ground where they could work on it. The question was why they didn't work on it the day before and save time and money. Mark Fors, the foreman, said that the debris was blocking the suction filter at the end of the hose, which caused the water level to rise and cover the whole pump. He had to disassemble and repair the engine and come up with a plan to protect the pump from more flooding. This could have been done the day before, which would have saved them the whole night. His wolf almost got cut by this mistake, but Parker also did something shockingly stupid, and he almost had to say goodbye to Big Red. Parker's horrible mistake. Parker had finally realized a lifelong dream by digging his own Klondike claim. But with only a year left on the water lease, he only had one session to find all the gold on the huge 115-acre property. It only took him a little over 8 years to grow his Alaska handle, an emblem, or a mark. The item looks like silver on the edge, which suggests it might be too big to handle. They believe they may have discovered 2 pieces of silver, which Emma will scan and report to them. Both of the objects on Lot 26 have a spoon connection to one another. Remove the handle and lid from a spoon or fork. A tiny spoon would have been used for salt or sugar. The group hopes to discover hallmarks on the silver spoon because of its silver content. They discover a small piece that broke off near the ball foundation, which they believe is from the later 1700s. The silver spoon's metal is 90% silver, with an average of 4% to 5% copper and 3% aluminum content, suggesting it's a Napoleon post. The team discovers these items on Lot 26, near the ball foundation, not far from the pond. They are unable to determine how the silver fragments into tiny bits because it isn't something you carry in your pocket. Therefore, they believe it was shattered on purpose, probably using axe silver. Since they don't appear to match, the 2 pieces stand out. The discovery of two distinct pieces of silver that are thought to be a component of a treasure discovered on an island in the late 1700s is examined in the text. One of the island's original property owners, Samuel Ball, was a prosperous cabbage grower who passed away. The finding of these silver spoons adds a sense of mystery to the circumstances at his home. The spoons' close proximity to one another and the iron found nearby raise the possibility that there was a plan to process or melt down silver. The conclusion derived from this discovery is that someone was melting the silver down, offering a clue as to who Samuel might have been. The distance between the silver spoons and the well on Lot 26 is also noted as 40 feet, and the well water is one of the few places where there is silver in the water. Richard is urged to keep looking for other pieces, because the more information gathered, the more concrete facts and speculation can result. The text ends by suggesting that since the area is one of the few places where silver is found, the next step is to find out if there is a smithy there. This could shed light on Samuel's reputation as a hard worker and creative individual who was an expert in his field. The team is looking for more than 10 tons of spoils from a mysterious rounded stone feature on Lot 5 that is located a few yards to the east. The team has discovered a number of amazing artifacts, such as a fragment of a 17th century English silver coin and a 14th century lead barter token. These items may be related to the Knights Templar's medieval order. Additionally, Lot 4 had an intriguing button that may have been made between the late 1600s and the mid-1700s. It is unusual that no buttons for clothing or tunics have been discovered previously. The button may have been made in the 17th century and may have been connected to the cut English coin discovered in the round feature on Lot 5. Finding a button excites the team because it might include military insignia that would enable the archaeologists to locate the events on Lot 5. Additionally, the scientists discovered an ancient coin weight that seemed to be lead. The team is thrilled about the prospect of discovering a lead coin weight, since it may have been connected to the Knights Temple and could have been used to divide up amounts of treasure. This kind of coin weight was used by merchants and farmers as early as 305 BC to guarantee the true value of coins and prevent counterfeiting. The team is eager to keep looking and discover more priceless items in the vicinity of the money pit. Archaeologists have found that the money pit location has a significant concentration of precious metals. Rick Legina and Gary Durton. In Lot 5 spoils, archaeologist Lennon and Arima metallurgist Emma Culligan are searching for a gold coin and potentially a lead weight. The round feature on Lot the 5th of May shed light on the use of the round feature. Emma scanned both artifacts using the Skyscan 1273 CT scanner and the X-ray Fluoresce ENT spectrometer XRF to ascertain their composition. She discovered that the copper-iron alloy had a high content of lead, no aluminum, and no severe indicators of modernity. The composition is believed to be between the 1700s and early 1800s English. The lead weight on Lot 5 is thought to be modern with an extremely high phosphorus content, which is not typically found in lead alloys until the middle of the 20th century. Emma disagrees, arguing that the lead weight is more recent than the archaeologists believe. The lead weight on Lot 5 is a good candidate for laser ablation, a testing method that uses a powerful laser to remove a microscopic sample from the surface of objects composed of lead. The sample is then analyzed to determine its specific isotope value, which can reveal not only where the object may have originated, but also its approximate age. To follow up on this finding, the team intends to use laser ablation and find an expert to weigh in on the findings. The group is keen to uncover other ancient coins and other important details regarding the find.